Elizabeth Warren and Amy Klobuchar getting a twin endorsement. You don't see that very often. In fact, in the case of the Times, ever. To Independent Women's Forum senior policy analyst Inez Stepman and our own Charlie Gasparino. Inez, to you, what did you make of that?
About the New York Times endorsement?
Yes.
I mean, Elizabeth Warren is a completely predictable choice. The dual endorsement, maybe less so. But, I mean, Elizabeth Warren's base is basically media liberals, affluent white liberals. So I think this is actually probably a negative sign for her that she couldn't seize this endorsement single-handedly. And she actually, the endorsers ended up hedging their bets with Amy Klobuchar. So actually, I think this is probably an indication of the lack of strength in Elizabeth Warren's campaign, that she couldn't seize this, her base's endorsement, in a certain sense.
I wonder if the real beneficiary here is Amy Klobuchar. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, what's interesting, or maybe even Joe Biden, and I'll tell you perversely why, or, ironically why. He's having a big fundraiser next couple of weeks. Everybody on Wall Street's going. They couldn't care less about this editorial, except for what was between the commas. What was really between the commas, if you read it, and I read it first thing in the morning, was that the New York Times really believes that Warren's policies are pie in the sky. By the way, there's the invite. Right. Did you get your invite to this?
I did not.
But I'm sorry.
No,
you might be one of the sponsors. Yeah. But by the way, heavy hitters, Roger Altman's on there, Charles Myers, some guy named Varney, a woman named Varney. I don't know if there's any relation to our guy, but. If you read between the commas, what they were saying is she's got the passion, she speaks to our needs, but guess what? The numbers don't add up. They basically said that. Right. Thus, here's an alternative in Klobuchar, and they probably picked two women for obvious Me Too, whatever reasons, political correctness reasons. But
didn't it strike you as a little patronizing?
That's why. And I think most Democratic voters will see that. And I'll tell you, Joe Biden still, to this day, even though everybody said his best day, first day would be his best day, he's in the best position to win. By the way, if he wins Iowa, I'm not saying he is, but if he does, and then win Super Tuesday, it's kind of
we'll see that. But Inez, I'm wondering, when you look at this approach the Times has taken, it is novel. I'm wondering if it's about the New York Times getting talked about. Here it is getting talked about, or does it bespeak of the confusion within the party?
I think there are a lot of divisions in the Democratic Party, and of course we heard about it on the media nonstop when it was the Republican Party. But there are deep divisions, and not just between establishment liberals, establishment Democratic Party figures who might have been in favor of Hillary Clinton last time around, but also within the Democratic base. There's a war between identity politics and hardcore sort of Marxist socialism. I mean, as far as I'm concerned, it's like what Henry Kissinger said about Iran and Iraq. It's a pity they can't both lose. But I do think that there's a real division. You saw it in the last debate between Elizabeth Warren and Bernie Sanders. And I actually think, contra maybe some other folks who have probably done politics a lot more than I have, but I still think this is going to be another change election in 2020. And that's why I think that Republicans would be wrong to underestimate Bernie Sanders.
I don't think the war,
I think he could be a strong candidate.
I don't think the war is really between Warren and Sanders, even though I know they had a dust up.
Right.
And,
they could cancel themselves out.
And they're looking to, and they're both fighting for that wing of the party. The real war is between that wing of the party and what a Klobuchar or Biden represents. And, listen, if you look at the numbers, I mean, where is the Twitter sphere going? Well, it's white, which is mainly white progressives on Twitter, young, who believe in this socialist progressive, these mandates. And you have, about 60% of the Democratic Party, which is moderate. I mean, we're talking African Americans, could be very conservative on social issues. And I think that's where the tension is, and it's and I think that's what was reflected in this op-ed. They were basically saying, the Times basically said, listen, Elizabeth Warren has all the passion, but common sense is Amy Klobuchar. If you just
I actually agree with that. I read it a couple of times to get the gist of it, and my view, Inez, is that this was a way for the New York Times to say Klobuchar is the way you go about instilling that passion and taking it to the next level, not Elizabeth Warren. Now, that's me making that leap. I don't think the deliberate approach there, but obviously the Times is worried enough to say if we go that route exclusively, which is why it hedged its bets with Klobuchar, the Democrats will lose. What do you think?
Like I said, I do think it reflects weakness in Elizabeth Warren's campaign that this is not a solo endorsement. But I do disagree, by the way, that she and Bernie Sanders are sharing voters. I actually don't think that's the case, even though she has cribbed off of Bernie's proposals that he's been in favor of, all of the hardcore left proposals, especially on economics, that he's been in favor of from the beginning. But if you actually dig into some of these polls, you see that Elizabeth Warren and actually Pete Buttigieg, they share more in terms of overlap in their voters. They tend to be sort of Acela corridor voters.
I was talking policy. I mean, I don't think
they have overlap in policy, but not in voters.
Well, maybe, but the overlapping policy will translate into voters later.
We shall see. We'll know soon enough, or at least as the process gets going. Guys, thank you very